Good evening, everyone present here. I'm Sonika from SSN College of Engineering, pursuing my undergraduate in civil engineering and also pursued as a CA in CMTI. On behalf of CMTI, I welcome you all for the interactive session on planning higher studies at USA. Today, we have Mr. Mohammad Razik with us here as our session speaker. On this occasion, I would like to introduce CMTI here. CMTI is a professional organization working towards the development of students and construction professionals. We have 100 plus experts for coaching and practical construction and associated with 30 plus leading engineering colleges. More than 5,000 students were trained by CMTI and CMTI have done 1,000 plus placements. We are connected with more than 200 plus construction companies for placements and runnings. Do follow our CMTI official page, cmti.co.in, and our social media accounts for further updates about our webinars and workshops. Also, download CMTI Civil Engineering Connect app in Play Store for online trainings. If there are any queries, I request participants to use the chat box. At the end of the session, it will be cleared by our expert. Our team will be helping you throughout the program and kindly support us to happen it in a better way. Now, I hand it over to CEO of CMTI, Engineer Ashok Kumar sir, to introduce the speaker. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sonika, for the nice introduction about the institution and about Razik and about the program. I am very much happy to host this program on behalf of CMTA because I admire the people who are here. One is Sonika and Razik, and not many campus ambassadors are there. They are doing a great work. So I thought because at the career, I seriously meet so many people. Razik knows. A lot of people I do the counseling, and we are seeing that people are need some guidance to go for higher education and to build up their career also. And a lot of students come after their engineer, then they think about their career, and we suggest them in our programs itself. Third year is the best time to plan your career. Maybe if you're targeting in a government exam, competition exam, or higher studies or entrepreneurship or any such programs, whatever you are planning, maybe whatever this thing, the third year is the appropriate time, so that you will not have any break during once your education is over. You can start your career according to your wish. Opportunities are unlimited, and of course the time along with the opportunities, there are competition is also there. Huge competition is there. Huge opportunities also is there. It is up to the people how they are taking and seriously. And Razik is one of the case. I met him during his 7th semester only. His HOD, Dr. Balakrishna, has introduced him. I still remember the days he used to come to our institute, and he started the advanced construction management course. By offline as well as offline. He got a privilege to attend both offline and online also, because due to he was in the 7th semester during the exams in between 7th and 8th. He started his this thing programs, and he taken up nicely. Even I remember the days where he was I was guiding him. Whatever the field it may be, because at our advanced construction management, it has around 14 to 15 topics are there, which is compressed and given to the audience, and within 3 months they will get an idea about exposure about the industry, and then whoever goes for placement, they are taking the placements also, and whoever needs an internship, they are taking internship also. Razik is a wonderful example, and somebody's mic is open. I request to mute your mics, and at appropriate time you can switch on your mics and you can speak. I welcome Mr. Nanda also for this program. He is my colleague as well as he is actually a nice person. Razik was actually reporting to him in his internship for the past 1 year. And I hope Razik learned a lot many things. I still remember, Razik, you were in a dilemma when I posted you in the Vaishnavi Serene project, where you need to take the precast construction or facade industry. After your father also spoke to me. Correct. And ultimately you decided a very good boss, and I hope you have done a very good job to him and the projects. with this, if Nanda, are you available? You can share a few words before starting.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Good morning.
You can switch on the audio video also if it is possible.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yes,
sir.
Nanda joining for you.
Hi, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, how are you, sir?
So good. How are you, Rasik?
Fine, sir. All yours.
Yeah. So Rasik actually is a very proactive person. So he joined us almost 1 year back, and he has contributed a lot to our organization. And he is very enthusiastic and wanted to learn a lot of things. He used to proactively take up the work and do a good job. And we recruited him from CMTI. And before we took him also, there was very good, like the basics and all they had taught him. So how to interact, of course, in the colleges, they might have taught the theory, but in the practice, how to interact with the industry people, all those basics was taught already by Mr. Ashok. And once he came, then we put him on the projects, and he was handling like all big projects actually. Whatever we were doing, all were all commercial buildings, IT buildings. So he was handling well, and we are very happy that he's going for his higher studies. One way we are happy, one way we are like like we are losing one person from organization, but he has assured that he will finish his education, come back and join us. So we hope that he comes back and join us. But however, we wish him a very good future, and it's a very good decision. I think he has taken the construction management field. So, and I think he has learned that during his working here, like what is more, what are the things he has to select, how it is going to help him. So all those things he has learned here, of course, from CMTI, and then in our firm also. But practically has that experience now, so which is good. So now over to you, Rasik, to continue.
Thank you, Nanda, for joining in this program. Rasik never expected. I thought he thought you may be busy in some this thing, and just before you were this thing only, I told your boss also is joining for this program. Anyway,
no, it's good that I had joined. Yeah. So I just wanted to tell about Rasik because he's really a nice person, and we wish him all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Rasik, now you can share your experience about how you started your this thing planning for the higher education.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of students from various places are there. There also in some time they may plan this, of course. So need is there for the guidance and all. And before going abroad, also a lot of students need some experience like you. You got so that the masters higher education they can take effectively, because you know little bit about industry also.
Correct.
Then if you go there, then the experience also adds a value. You can take some part-time jobs also along with your education. So you can, over to you. Now it's time for you to introduce yourself in detail, and you can take it up after. Then Sonika will take some questions from our audience. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ashok sir. Thank you for all the introduction you give. All your association. I would love to remember this. It's been great experience with you, and never the least my boss Nanda Kumar sir. He's an amazing person, I can say, gem of a person, I can say. Never treated me as an employee, never looked me as an employee. He's always so down to earth. He's an amazing person. I haven't met anywhere. Not even one day he has, talked me in a harsh way, or he is just like he was looking for a person who could take his responsibility, perform well, render all, and give all the deliverables in a proper way. A big thank you, sir. It's been amazing working with you. I have learned enormous. I cannot explain. I actually regret leaving your organization. I could have learned much more under your leadership, but but this is the right time in my career. I think I can invest on an academic experience before it becomes late. I thought I will, improve my skills, and I think the place which I am going, inshallah, will be the best place where I can improve my skills. And I would give you a big thank you for giving me an opportunity to work under you. It's been really enthusiastic, really helpful. You have changed me, a different Rasik from the past October, and today I'm a different Rasik in the month of August. Big thank you to you, sir, for giving me all the opportunity. Thank you, Nandakumar, sir.
Yeah, Rasik, see, it's a mutual, this one. It's not that it cannot be one way. It is always like, if you are, whatever we give support, if you reciprocate now, the relationship will grow. Yes, that's how it is.
Correct.
So it is not always one way. So we'll have to think in a positive way.
Correct.
Which definitely improve. It's a win-win situation. That's all I can.
Correct. Okay, sir. So I'll begin with my. Okay. So everyone, I request all the participants to have a pen and paper before we start this session. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, Rasik.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So I request all the participants, please keep a pen and paper on your hand, because my presentation is all about bulletin points, so that, I will give all the info needed for you, so that you can start your abroad education process from the scratch and till the very much pre-departure arrangement. So I request everyone to be very attentive, and you can ask me doubts at the end of the session, or probably you can raise a question in the chat box so that I can clarify at the end. So let me introduce myself. I am Mohammad Azmat Rasik. I am a civil engineer. I graduated from Bangalore Institute of Technology. Since my graduation, I have been working as a project coordinator for a known project facade consultancy named Evama Project Solutions, which is run by Mr. Nandakumar. He is a famous facade consultant in the Bangalore city. He is doing a couple of good projects, very good projects. And now I am an aspiring student for MS, Construction Engineering and Management. Now I'm going to US for my master's. I'm traveling tomorrow to US, but before I leave the country, and before I move ahead, I would like to share you all the experiences which I have come across in my life till now, and hope it will be helpful to you. So starting with the study abroad education, first thing in our mind comes is, why do we want to study abroad? What are the reasons we want to study abroad? There are 100 reasons an individual can have why he or she can study abroad. So the primary reasons, which are like, see, probably you want to flaunt about having an international degree. See, flaunting is like, you want to like show off. Like, it may be like, it is like you should have a good saying that I graduated from a University of UK, I graduated from a University of Germany, I graduated from a University of France, etc. So that might be one of the reasons. Second reason is, some students think the education system which India has got is a typical education system which has been done for many years, and they want to have a different learning capability or different way of learning which the other countries give you, because the education system in India is way different in other countries. The other countries totally concentrate on your practical exposure, practical knowledge, but in India the situation is also practical, but a majority is theoretical, which will not help students much towards they would need a campus experience or experience to brush up their core engineering skills. That is what I have experienced here, and that is why would be one of the good reasons to go and study abroad. And the third reason is, some people want to get independent in life. They want to get, they want to hold their responsibilities on own. They want to come out, they are so grown up. Okay, they want to take decisions on their own. They want to explore the world. So they want to think independent. They want to grow independent. So that would be a good reason to study abroad. And the other reason would be discover other countries and their lifestyle. Yeah, this is a very rare reason I can say you, because see, discovering other countries and their lifestyle would be it will be a piece of cake for those people who have got a lot of money, who can just, whose parents have got a lot of money and they just want their parents to go, children to go and spend their life in other countries just for lifestyle, just for enjoyment kind. And the main reason which an good aspiring student to have is to improve his core engineering and technical skills for an excellent future career. Because I can tell you the technology the other countries are using is a way ahead of what our country is. I'm not like discouraging our country, but yes, of course, but there are a lot many opportunities which there are available for you people to discover in other countries. You probably can go to a university, go to this academics there, select graduate options and see the curriculum which the universities have. To be honest, the university which I am going through has 20 specializations only in civil engineering, 20 main specializations, and there are total 120 to 130 courses in civil engineering. You can imagine the vastness of the course. So I can tell you the main reason which should be there in your mind to improve, the main reason should be there in your mind to study abroad is improve your core engineering or technical skills for an excellent future career. Obviously, there are huge opportunities abroad, because the main reason there is this demand is more than supply. But in India, I'm very sorry to say, the supply is way ahead than demand. So you people have to undergo a lot of competition, which will restrict good students also to go ahead, because of the competition, students find themselves somewhere lost. They are not able to get good opportunities. Even students who have the capacity to learn, and not many companies give opportunities for people to learn. If you're good enough, if you're capable enough, you're in, or else you're out. So most of the companies look on communication skills. Some of the engineering students coming from rural background have a very big drawback on this. So our country has a lot of competition. I can tell you our country has a lot of competition. So a good idea would be to get a recognized degree from a good country, so that you can improve your profile, a very strong profile. Certainly come back to India and find a very good job, because your weightage will be much more, and expectation will also be more. So I think these are the reasons which are mainly you can use for study abroad. The next reason is famous destinations to study abroad. We have 200 plus countries in the world, but that doesn't mean we can go and study everywhere. See, depending on our course, on our specialization, the country's selection will be done. It is not like tomorrow I get up, I want to study in Sweden. Just because I like Sweden, I cannot go and study in Sweden. You have to first see whether the course which you're going for is available in Sweden. Or tomorrow morning you get up and say, I want to go to Norway. It doesn't mean you can go to Norway. See, it is the destination. There are 200 plus countries, but the right way of choosing a abroad destination would be first discover the opportunities in that country. Look in the country, what are the opportunities they are giving to you. Be it in the first should be, since we belong to the civil background, we as civil engineers should recognize which is the right country for us. So you have to first shortlist which course you want to specialize in. So for example, if you want to specialize in civil engineering, then the first country, civil engineering prospects like structural engineering, construction management, transport, or whatever it is. So that way, the first country which comes is United States of America. The civil engineering is the birth industry of US. I can assure you the opportunity, the specialization areas which US universities have offered are, I can tell you, they are not offered anywhere in the world. Because the construction there, because the first standard we use even in our construction field is the American standards, because they have created the standards so well that the entire world follows those standards. Obviously, European standards are there, but certainly the preferable one would be American standards. So So the first country for civil engineers is, this is the order of the countries which I have written is only for civil engineering, not for the other industry, not for the other specialization. It is only for civil engineering. So the first country would be United States of America. Now when you come to United States of America, you may tell what is the course, how long is the course, what is the cost of the course? Yeah, let me break up. So the course in America is called as MS. It is called Masters of Science. So it is a 2-year study course plus 3-year stay back work permit. It is called OPT and CPT. OPT is called optional practical training. CPT is called curriculum practical training. Please write it down. 3 years is a stay back period, which includes OPT and CPT. So now coming to the cost, I can tell you the most costliest country for study abroad would be America itself, because because of the dollars and the currency exchange rates there, and the standards there are high. So a couple of universities charge you more. So starting from the least to the highest cost of this country education would be 40 lakhs to 80 lakhs. Again, varies depending upon the location of a university, the type of course you're going to do. If you're doing a STEM course, please write it down: STEM, STEM. S stands for science, T stands for technology, E stands for engineering, M stands for mathematics. This is a separate core branch which is started by the US government in the year 2018 to give the soft corner to all the graduate students in the USA, be it Indian students, Chinese, anybody who come to USA and do their masters, they will be put under the category of STEM. If you are having a STEM course, then you will get this 3 years of work permit. If you are not choosing a STEM course, then you will not get this 3 years of work permit. So it is very, very important to choose this course which belongs to the STEM category. STEM, I repeat: S for science, T for technology, E for engineering, M for mathematics. The course of specialization should lie in this category only. Before you finalize the university, please ensure that your course falls in a STEM category. And the cost will again start from 40 lakhs to 80 lakhs, varying, because 40 lakhs might be the fees of some public universities which are laying in some good good areas. Like, for example, if I say, if you're studying in Gujarat, if you're studying in Madhya Pradesh or any other place, the cost of living would be less comparatively to staying in Bangalore city, Mumbai city, or Chennai, because these are all metropolitan cities. They charge you more. Your accommodation charges are more and your fees are more because the universities here will charge you. That is why your cost, that is why I have given you a variation of 40 lakhs depending upon the university location. The next question, the next country for preferentially, the second country would be United Kingdom, UK. UK has also got amazing universities named University of Birmingham, which I also got an admit, University of Manchester, University of Sheffield, University of Strathclyde, Glasgow, Scotland. All these are some good universities. And again, I can tell you, the specialization compared to US is less. So here the specialization here will decrease because the course is only for 1 year. The name of the course is called MS, Master of Science, but it is called MSc. It is not MS, it is called MSc. Okay, so here now, depending upon your specialization, you will have 2 years or 4 years of W work permit. It depends on your specialization again. If your specialization is not having that 4-year work permit, then you will have to find a job within 2 years and get a work visa, or else you will be sent back to your country. Then you will be sent back. Or else, if you are wise enough to get a chance of 4-year work permit, I think that is a very good opportunity. You can easily find a job and you can easily get a work visa there. And whereas comes to the cost would be somewhere around 15 lakh to 35 lakhs, again, which it varies depending upon the location. If your location is somewhere in London city, London or Birmingham, anything, it's way too costly. It's way too costly, I can tell you. But if you are living in some other, if your university is in some suburban area or a rural area, your cost will be like 15 lakhs. The next country is Germany. Again, Germany is a very good country. probably the country first for mechanical engineers, second for civil engineers. Don't get away with people saying Germany mein kuch nahi hai, there is nothing, there is nothing in Germany. Guys, no, there's lot more in Germany, but the things are not very flexible for you, because Germany, you should have a very good CGPA in engineering, because they don't accept any of your scores, any of your test scores. They want your engineering. And the second thing which importantly matters in Germany is your work experience. Without work experience, 90% of universities reject your application because you're not even eligible to apply. So here the one advantage of Germany is education is free. You don't have to fund your education, only you have to fund your living expense. That's it. Because 90% of German universities have got education fee waiver. And that is why the cost here I have not included, because it depends again on your living expense. And some of the universities will definitely charge you on your education, but most of them are free, and you can just get away with good scholarships. And the next country I would say is Canada. Canada nowadays is a booming country, certainly because, a lot of opportunities. The thing is the PR, the permanent residency which Justin Trudeau is offering is really good. But unfortunately for civil engineers, Canada is not the country, because the main reason is the harsh climatic condition. The 8 months round the year, it is a terrible snowfall. What kind of a construction will you be able to do? You will only be able to do only wooden construction. What kind of RCC construction will you do in such a terrific climatic condition? So I was also a good aspirant for Canada, but unfortunately that is not the country. But for some of the courses like structural engineering or like sustainability engineering or some other course, mining engineering, particularly mining. The state name Alberta in Canada is very famous for mining engineering. So you can always look into that. The option here is you have both 1 year course and 2 years courses, but the stay back depends on the course you take. If you are taking 1 year course, then you have only 1 year stay back. If you're taking 2 years course, then you have 3 years stay back. Again, it is very difficult for you to get a 2 years course, because as far as I know, I have done a lot of research on Canada. Very, very few universities offer 2 years course, and the cost would again be somewhere around 35 to 45 lakhs. Again, varies depending upon a location, say Ontario, Toronto, Vancouver, Alberta, Lakehead, depends. Next is Ireland. Ireland is one of the good locations nowadays to study. It's really good. In fact, my brother is in Ireland only. He has done his master's in mechanical engineering. So, and he's now in a work visa. So again, since Ireland is a part of European nation, we have 1 year course, again MSc, and 1 year stay back. The cost would be somewhere around 15 lakhs to 13 lakhs, again varying. The next country would be Australia. Australia, I would not suggest, because the stay back option is really, really very not acceptable, because it is just 6 months. Any course you take, you have to find a job within 6 months, or else you are back to your home country. So it is individual's interest, it is individual's choice. If you are having someone in Australia who can connect you, who can assure you, nobody will assure you a job, but if you have someone who can assist you in finding a job, you can, if you are okay to take the risk, please go ahead with Australia. It's one of the good destinations to study. But again, if you're doing it by yourself, then I would not suggest the country. The next country is New Zealand. Guys, New Zealand is also a very good country, equally opportunistic, equally good, but I could say not very friendly country, because things are new to you. You would not be knowing people. You will be finding it very difficult to find connects there. So I would that is why I have put it in the last. And there are other European nations. I can say Sweden is there, France is there, all this. But the main disadvantage in all these countries is their language. They stick on to their languages. I can tell you, they stick on to their languages. Even they know English, they will not speak in English. Even Russia is a very good country, but again, it's very difficult for you people to sustain there, because I can tell you, in abroad countries, it is all about your contacts which will help you grow. So please note it down. This is the order for civil engineering specialization. Any specialization, go with this preferential order. Please go with this cost. This is the cut short cost which I have done, seeing majority of the universities. I can tell you, please, you can take a, you can write down, or probably I will share you this PPT. This is the right way. You can go to any abroad education consultant. You can show this order, and I can assure you this is 95% right, because this is the survey which I have done from past 3 years I have been doing. So the next, I'm moving on to the next thing.
Excuse me, before the slide, can you go?
Yeah.
Rasik, one question I want to ask. I still remember the days where you were exploring about environmental engineering and then the construction engineering management.
Yes.
Of course, you have this question to Mr. Sivaraman. You written a mail to him also.
Correct.
I think, can you explain why you have chosen construction engineering compared to environmental?
Yeah.
Because both were in your mind. I didn't know the answers. So
yeah. Okay. I can
one more additional point here. According to the branch, what you are choosing, the fees will vary, or it is irrespective of the branch what you are taking. That
sir, it is like it is irrespective of the branch. Mainly why the cost is finalized. No, the cost of the course for civil engineering will be the same. But depending upon your location, if your university is in, for example, let me.
No. My question is this thing. I hope.
Okay.
See, you are choosing the structural engineering, environmental engineering, construction engineering. All the three courses are the same value, or the fees is different?
No. It is the same. Because the department will set the fees.
Okay.
I am talking about the location. Why? Because,
I understand that is operational expense.
Yeah.
Your college fees, I am asking.
Yeah. It will be the same.
It will be the same.
Yeah. Okay. Only depending on the location, it will vary.
No.
And the university, it will vary.
Yeah. Before getting into the next slide, can you explain about how you chose environmental and construction engineering?
Correct. Okay. So actually, before before I started finalizing for construction engineering management, my interest was environmental engineering, because I wanted to do something different. Because I in fact did my research paper in hydrology. I have done a research paper and published it in an international journal. And my research paper was in prediction of rainfall for Kolar district in Karnataka using Markov chain and regression model. So I was much inclined towards environment because it's an upcoming field in the world, and it's a Western subject. But once I entered the job, and when I was associated with all these corporate people and working industry, I started discovering more on construction management. I could make this sense that the need of the hour would be construction management, because in India, it is a little difficult task for government to implement all these environmental norms, and it's a little difficult for people to abide by it. So environmental engineering would not be having that much of scope, because construction management is the heart of the construction project. You do a small residential building to a commercial building to a flyover to a dam. You do any construction, be it a steel, be it a facade, you do whatever construction or project management is involved. You do a small course, you do a small 2 BHK building, or you do a big tech park, you should have project management. And that is construction management, because it involves right from, it involves planning, it involves scheduling, it involves quantity surveying, costing, it involves, contracts management, it involves project management, handling clients, handover, quality control, quality assurance. All this come under construction management or project management. And that is why I could also suggest you people to look into this subject, because this subject, no matter irrespective of any other country, will have scope. So I recommend this course to everybody. Please go this course. Please survey before you finalize on the course. And again, it's an individual's interest, but when I started surveying and when I started working, I realized that environmental engineering is a limited subject. It is only limited to Western countries. And if I want to go beyond the books, if I want to go beyond, I want to explore, then the subject would be construction management. Not because somebody else is doing, not because somebody is doing this. It's a good advice. You yourself can explore things. so that before you conclude on what subject. And that is the main reason why I took construction management, is that the opportunities are enormous, and you have got lot of special. You can work as a planning engineer, you can work as a contracts manager, you can work as a project engineer, you can work as a project manager. N number of roles are there, you can work on that. But if you become an environmental engineer, definitely you have opportunities in Western countries, but back in India, very difficult to find a job. Very difficult to find a job, because in India, it takes time for government to implement on all projects and openings. There are good small openings, but it is restricted to only government openings, but not in the private sector. So I would, if some people, if we being Indians, we never know. There's always a chance for us to come back to our home country. So always look into the subject which will fetch you a job even back in India. So that is the reason which I, not because I want to come back to India or get a good job in India. The subject is really good. You have got enormous specialization. Again, you can in fact do a PhD in project management, project scheduling. You can do a good PhD in contracts management. That is there in my university too. So I can tell you this subject this is the main reason. Because of the broadness of the subject, I have taken this specialization, and I'm sure there are many opportunities in this field, and you can always speak to good corporate people who are working in the industry, so that they will give you a good idea about construction management. So I hope this thing is cleared.
Yeah, please proceed.
Yeah. So next country. Now, the next question which comes to your mind is, how do I get the university of my choice? This is the biggest question. You will you're finalized the country. Say you want to go to America. Now you don't know which university to go, you don't know how are you going to finalize the university, which university you are going to stay, which place is good for construction. The moment you start applying for the university, your admission dates divided into two halves. One is the scores of entrance exams which you have to give, and second one is your profile. Mark students, people, I want you to hold your pens here, because the two things which I'm going to tell you is everything which will decide your admit to the university. These are the things which will decide your admit to the university. Please make it a point that you write down all these points and and keep it ready while you are starting the application for the university. Yes, the first one is the scores of entrance examinations. In the world, if any graduate student, if any undergrad student, especially let us talk about engineering background, any engineering background, be it computer science, mechanical, civil, irrespective of their specialization, if they want to go to United States of America, the compulsory exam would be GRE. GRE is abbreviated as Graduate Record Examination. I repeat, Graduate Record Examination. Okay, this is a qualifying exam for all undergrad students to go to the graduate level. It is a mandatory exam by the US government for all the universities to select the students to get an admit in the university. I will give you the brief of this examination. It is conducted by the company named ETS. It is called Educational Testing Services. I repeat, ETS, Educational Testing Services. It is a US company. Like in India, it is like the Department of Examination or Karnataka Examination Authority. Those exams conduct Karnataka CET. Typically in US, it is ETS which conducts this exam. It's an online exam. Currently, due to COVID, I think GREs are not going on. But when I was back in 2019, when I gave my GRE, I did it in Prestige Shantiniketan. It's a company named Prometric Testing Limited. I booked my slot there, and then I could give my GRE there. And I will tell you something about brief on GRE. GRE is a exam on 340. The 340 is divided into two sections. One is the verbal section, which is basically American English. It's in American English, I can tell you. It's on 170. They call it as 170 scale. Out of 170, you have to score your marks. Then quant. Quant is called nothing but mathematics. Mathematics, I can tell you, it is it is, even though it is a 10th standard or 12th standard mathematics, it is basically logical mathematics. I can tell you, it may be looking, when you start practicing quant in GRE, it will look simple, but mind students, it is totally logical. It is not as simple as math which we do in 10th, algebra, arithmetic, probability, sets, not that. It will be very logical, but very interesting, I can tell you. So you have to score 170 and the verbal 170. Basically, one verbal is very difficult, I can tell you, because American English is it's a difficult task for us, because we as in Indians have little difficult vocabulary. We find vocabulary a little difficult, but probably if you are going for an engineering school, your quant score matters, because in engineering, mathematics matters. I think if you can concentrate more on your quant score, probably I got 155 out of 170 in quant. If you're able to cross 150 on quant, I think you can get a very good university, I can assure you. Even verbal, I cannot guarantee, because verbal, it is individual's capacity. So a person who is a good reader can definitely score 160, 170 on 170 in verbal also. It depends on an individual, but it will not come. Verbal is something which doesn't come in fortnight, but quant is definitely, if you practice for a few months, I think you can score well in quant. I think GRE is done. The next question is TOEFL or IELTS. See, any other country, non-English speaking country, if a student from a non-English speaking country, that is, for example, India, should qualify an English proficiency exam to enter any other country for education. So for United States, the exam is TOEFL. I will abbreviate. TOEFL is testing of English as a foreign language. I repeat, TOEFL means testing of English as a foreign language. This is an exam conducted by ETS. Again, it is out of 120 score. The 120 score, there are 4 different sections in this examination. Reading section, which is again out of 30 marks. The second section is listening, which is again on 30 marks. Writing session is again on 30 marks. Speaking session is again on 30 marks. So you have to score equally good. If a good score would be somewhere above 80, 85. Any good university will set a eligibility score to even apply to that university. If you are scoring above 85, I think you can get a good university, and below 85, I think it is little difficult for you to get a good university, because, and in that also, reading and speaking would be the majority concentration area, because reading and speaking is all what matters. Listening and writing is okay, fine, everybody can, I think, do it, but reading and speaking is the main concentration area which the Americans or anybody who's evaluating your profile will look into it. Students, mind, when you are applying to abroad universities, you are competing with lakhs of students across the globe, but that is why you have to have a good score. That is, I am telling you, you have to have a very good score so that you get a good university. There are so many universities which just you apply, you get the university, but even if you go submit to the visa officer with such admit letters, he will immediately reject you, because the visa officer knows the ranking of the university. He will only give you a visa if your ranking is good, if your university is good. That is why, then if your university is not good, then you come under a category of potential immigrant. You know what is a potential immigrant? The person who does not have a capacity and the university is giving him a chance to improve. That person is called a potential immigrant. So please don't come under the category. I have seen people getting rejected because of some university. It's not just getting into US. Getting into US is very, very difficult because US norms are very strict. I am pretty confident on the other countries, but if you at all you're concentrating on America, then you people have to start well in advance. You have to start in advance, prepare all your documents in advance, be prepared in advance. So the other 2 exams, which is PTE and Duolingo, these are not required for you, because that would come under for somebody who is like coming from Middle East or some other country. If suppose you are unable to give your TOEFL or IELTS, you can give your Duolingo. But majorly TOEFL is for, I prefer TOEFL for American students who are going for US, and IELTS will be conducted by British Council. It's an UK examination, basically European nation. Anybody who wants to go to European nations should write IELTS. Either ways, now American universities are also accepting IELTS scores, and European universities are also accepting TOEFL scores. You can write any of the exams, but preferably I say TOEFL US students, IELTS rest of the world. Okay, next, when I come to profile, the main important thing in your university admit is your profile. The first thing which the university sees your 10th standard marks card. If you are having a good score, I think if you are having a good score, especially in your English, in your 10th and 12th, you have a chances of getting your TOEFL or IELTS waived off. I had a score of 90 in my English in both my 10th and 12th. I got a TOEFL waived off, but still I wanted to give my TOEFL examination on a safer side. I went ahead and I got 92 in TOEFL examination. I could have done much better, but because of this, final year projects and all, I could make up to 92, and I got a good university. But I can tell you, if you're having a score of 85 plus, you have always a good chance of getting at a good university. The next is your 12th score. Guys, remember your 10th score, 12th score really matters to the university admission. They will take your profile from the scratch. Okay, the next one is don't take engineering lightly. Your engineering, your master's seat will be dependent on your engineering scores. It doesn't matter which college you come from, but you have a good engineering score, make sure you will have always a good chance of getting into the university. A good score would be 7 CGPA plus would be a good score to get a good university. But in this case, Germany is an exception. Germany, if you want to go, then you have to have 9 CGPA. Less than 9 CGPA, I don't think you have a good university in hand. Because Germany also, good universities are very few. There are enormous other universities, but good universities are very few. The next thing is your internships. If a non-working student is going immediately after graduation, then internship is mandatory. It is very much needed. It is compulsory. You have to do it, or else your chances of getting the university admit is less, because your applicant, your co-applicant, somebody who else is applying to that university might have 5 years in construction industry. So his application will get selected instead of you. So you have to face the competition across the globe. So internship is really good, really much needed. You can always have a good internship. The next thing is, if possible, I don't make it as a mandate, but if possible, doing a research paper in undergrad is a very good job, and it will help. It will give a strong hold on your profile. Research papers in abroad countries matters a lot. It will give you a very good idea on your profile. It gives a very good picture about your profile, so that you can elevate to a good university. You can always speak to your professors. And even I did my research paper in my 7th semester. Yeah, it's a very big task. It took me almost 8 months to complete my research paper. But yeah, if you want to achieve something, then you have to do it. Get a hold on a good topic. Try to get a raw data on it. Try to analyze. Try to figure out what can be done using that. Or probably if your professors are doing their PhD, assist them in publishing the papers. Try that your name could be added in the paper as an author, and that really helps. And next thing is the main, which will decide the admit to a good university, is your work experience. Guys, mind it, I have experienced this when I started working in the company, and I submitted all my work appointment letter and my details, and I think that was major deciding factors for me to get an admit in that university. I can assure you, work experience really matters, really matters. Don't neglect, don't be in an excitement that immediately after graduation, I'll be running down to US or UK, get my master's, and I'll do wonders. You have to have a good work experience. I sincerely suggest, even my brother suggested me, and I suggest you as my friends, please go for work experience before you leave for masters. Work experience will change you like anything. It will, once you enter the working industry, you can see the change in you, and that change you can always implement in other countries. They respect, it is irrespective of whether they accept your experience or not, whether they count Indian experience or not, but it will definitely have an edge over your profile comparing to other students. The next thing is other courses. Other courses are like, if you are going to learn a foreign language, if you are learning some other, like I did my professional diploma in architecture from CAD Center, so that will have an advantage. Or if you're doing a course from CMTI, yes, of course, it will also help you people. It's because it's a construction management training institute. You have done a course, even that would add to your profile. Or you can do any other course, anything. If you're good in social service, you please go ahead with some Rotaract Club or Eco Club. Go have good membership there. Anything, please. Only academics will not guarantee you admit to the university. You should have a package of all this written on the screen to get a university admit. A good university, again I repeat, a good university. Not every university is good. For example, we can compare our colleges in India. IITs rank 1 category. Next, NITs and central universities. Third are private universities. So preferentially, when you're going for an interview in Google or Amazon, I can tell you IITians are first one to get picked up. Then IITs of central universities. So even in other countries also, ranking, there's something called ranking. There are 3 rankings in the world. One is QS World Ranking. I repeat, QS World Ranking. Second one is Times Higher Education World Ranking. And third one is US News and Reports Ranking. Please note it down. These are the 3 kinds of ranking which will come. Again, fourth one is Forbes. All this rank, every year these companies give ranking to the university. Please make sure that you select a university based on ranking, because it will give you an edge over your degree. If you have a degree from an average university, getting job would be a little challenging. So try to have a good university where you can learn many courses which you don't get in India. That should be because when you're investing so much of money, you should get something which you don't get in India. Then you can do it. No, you write case Karnataka CET, do MTech here only. Do MTech here only. You should be able to get the subject which you're not getting in India. That should be your main intention. And that should be the main reason you have to select the university. And for this, I can tell you there are hundreds of abroad education consultants. If you are wishing, you can always approach them. They will definitely help you. But at the end of the day, it is their business. They will try to change the routes. But I suggest you guys, if they are doing 10% of research, you have to do 90% of research. If they are telling you to apply to this university, you have to tell them, boss, I want this university, please, whether I get it or not, you have to check your profile. You have to always not apply to all good universities. You should always apply for few good, few average, and very less on bad. Not bad, I can say, a below average university. But you don't apply to all good universities. All good universities means your chances of getting admit is less. Apply to universities where you have a 50% chance. Then also apply to universities which have got 90% chance. Then apply for universities which you have got 100% chance, so that you don't get disappointed. Okay, because disappointment will lead into all depressions and all kind of stuff. So, my dear friends, I think the main reasons which I have mentioned on the screen will help you to get into a very good university, provided all the credentials I have mentioned here are satisfied. So I am moving to the next slide. Okay, so since we are talking about the construction industry, the ongoing construction market has got these subjects as specialization. So as again Ashok sir wanted, I will give you a clear picture on here. Construction engineering and management is a combination of 2 subjects. It is engineering, which involves structural engineering, and again management. Not every university gives this, and it is little difficult to get in this course because there is a huge demand for this course now. If you want to get this course, I can tell you should have minimum 1 year of experience. At least you should be working, or else you will not get this course, because there are in my university, there are 50 seats for this university to the entire world, 30 seats for structural engineering, and then 20 subjects for transportation, 20 subjects for ocean. Because their seats are depending upon
mention your university name.
Yeah, my university is Stevens Institute of Technology. It's in Hoboken, New Jersey. Yeah, you can always Google and you can see the curriculum of that university. I repeat, it's Stevens Institute of Technology. This university is, since the New York and New Jersey are hub for constructions, I thought I'll go with the university. But of course, there are so many. I also got admit from Arizona. I got from Colorado, NJIT and all. But yeah, obviously, your at the end of the day, your selection, this thing should be done by your interest, subject of interest. So the first subject I have written this subject based on the demand in the industry. I'm telling you, I repeat, this order of the subjects is on the demand. Structural engineering is again a wonderful subject. I can tell you, it's a really good subject. You will become a very good engineer, a very, very, very good engineer. But the only disadvantage is if you study structural engineering in America, then you have to work in America only, because American standards are different than Indian standards than European standards. If you are studying construction engineering management, no issue. It is, see, Primavera is used in India also. It is used in Dubai also. It is used in US also. It is used everywhere. But structural engineering, few people don't opt this because of the difference of codes. American codes use different, and US codes are different, UK codes are different, Indian codes are different. Next is a very good subject is sustainability management. This is an upcoming field which you can always try. Then environmental engineering, as I said, it's a little take time to come down in India. It will take time for Indian government to bring up that subject. Next is transportation. It's a way old subject. It involves highway, roads, bridges, railways, all that, airports again. Next, ocean and marine. It's again a good, but I don't think many of us are interested in taking this, because it is like 6 months you're going to stay on the sea, and it's very, very difficult. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity in this. And one of the good subjects which I have come across while shortlisting my university is smart cities and real estate management. Mind, all IT companies now have got their real estate division. They want to bring up their campuses in every part of the world. So if you are a good in real estate management, then there is nobody who can stop you, because you will be talking to all agencies across the globe, finalizing the properties. And real estate is a very good business, even in India, in any other country, provided you have to have your edge over it, you have to have control over it. And geotechnical, I can say, geotechnical is a very narrow field, because once the foundation is done, excavation done, once the concreting RCC is done till the ground floor, geotechnical engineer has no role beyond that, because it is a very limited role. He might be having a good role in dam construction or a flyover or this thing, but I don't think that is a good opportunity giving. If somebody wants to do in geotech, then don't stop with MS, then go ahead with PhD. You can always do PhD in geotechnical engineering and become a professor, and then you will have it's a very good research field. It's a very good research field. And in my final year project was in that only. I did it on bentonite clay, triaxial, all the properties, triaxial test, liquid test, all those triaxial, all those tests I have done it in geotechnical. So this is the last subject I would suggest anybody who wants to go for masters. So the first subject would be construction management, or if you are able to get to the university which is offering you both the courses, then you are lucky enough, you can always go ahead with that university. Okay, the next, I am moving on. The documents which is required by you to get admit while you are applying for the university and applying for the visa, both. I am writing here for both. I haven't separated here. These documents are required for visa as well as application. The first one is your all mark sheets. That means 10th standard. I want everybody of you to either write down or take a screenshot of this, because this is very important. Mark sheet means 10th standard, 12th standard, 8 semesters of engineering. This should be the mark sheets which are required. The next test scores. If somebody who is not going to US will only have to write one exam, that is IELTS or TOEFL, depending on the individual's interest. GRE is not mandatory to the rest of the world. It is only mandatory for US and few more other countries which will also ask for you, but not necessarily. But the main thing for US, you have to write both. GRE is a must. Only for COVID, no, currently they are excusing because of there are no exams being conducted offline. If you are now, you think with the next academic year, they're going to start your GRE exams in individual country. So these test scores, after you write the exam, you have your account there. You please book. It will be cost you around $20 to $15. Apply for a test score. It will be get courier to your respective residential address. The next, the heart of application is letter of recommendation. Without letter of recommendation, you cannot even apply to a single university anywhere in the world. Letter of when you are applying to somebody, say you are applying to a university, how does anybody know? Okay, you are working, you have even studied in that. Suppose I take BIT, I apply for Stevens. Does anybody in Stevens know Rasik, or does anybody know how BIT is, which professor is there in BIT? So letter of recommendation is basically the letter which a professor who has taught you writes to the university that I know this candidate has done exemplary good in his engineering. He has done so and so things. He has achieved so and so things. I recommend you to give him an opportunity to study in your university. It doesn't mean you guarantee you an admission. It is just to request an opportunity for the student to get an admit in the university. That is letter of recommendation. Mind it, students, it is very, very mandatory. Irrespective of the country, you should have letter of, depend. US will require 4 to 5 LORs. Other countries will require 2 to 3 LORs. But I will tell you, US is having edge over because there the formalities are more. I can tell you formalities are more there. I will tell you also to where you get the LORs. First LOR should be from your school. Your 10th standard, wherever you have done, you have to have your school. You have to get one LOR from your school. Second and third LOR should be from your HOD of your engineering, and your third LOR should be from your project guide, because these are the two people who will know you very well. If they don't even know, or if you have not probably gone to college well, or if your HOD doesn't know you or a professor doesn't know you, don't take a LOR, because the moment your LOR is submitted to the university will send you a mail to that LOR or recommender asking details of the student. If you are submitting, if you're taking a false letter from your HOD, and if your HOD doesn't even know about you in and out, and you're writing a very good LOR, your application is rejected. Mind it, the LOR which you have submitted to the university, during that verification mail, your recommender should resubmit that LOR, the same copy, not even a dot difference. Even if it is a dot difference, your application is rejected, because any university which have a piracy reader, they can easily understand you have pirated this. The LOR is different from what you have given here and what your recommender is submitting. So letter of recommendations is very important. And if you want to get a detail on it, I'll submit my email ID. Please contact me in future if you want to understand how to write a LOR, what to write. And remember, no Indian professor will write an LOR for you. He has no time. It is you who have to draft your LOR, go to him, get him attested, then also attach his details, his phone number, his email ID, everything has to be attached. The next thing is statement of purpose. Again, this statement of purpose is the second, I can say the brain of the application process, because without what exactly is an SOP? SOP is, you write to the university stating that first, why do I want to study there? Why only that university? What benefit can you get from that university, and what benefit you can do for the university? All that should be written in an SOP. It is basically the overview of what you're going to do in your master's should be written in an SOP. Guys, don't go to Google, download a SOP which somebody has written, post it. Remember, you will never get a seat in that university again if you do such kind of work. SOP you write in simple English, but it should be in your English. they can easily match your GRE verbal score with your SOP. You get a SOP written paying 10,000 rupees from a good writer, and you put it in the university, and if you're having 135 score in GRE, that reviewer will not even look at your application. He will straight away reject and send you a rejection email. You are no more entertained in this university. Guys, it is not like I'm telling you it is in our country. In our country, students, professors accept all those things, but there, guys, don't even try doing that. They are very, very smarter. They have got an agency to, verify all your documents. The moment you send your transcripts, if you are from VTU, email will go to a VTU stating that, asking whether the student has studied, please submit all his scores. Everything will be verified, guys, especially US. Especially US, all these things will be verified. The next, if you want more details on an SOP, please contact me. I will share my email ID. You can always test me on for an SOP, sample SOP. Next, affidavits. Guys, your affidavits are those, it will be your name affidavits. Say your name is, my name was Muhammad A. Rasik till engineering. But when I went to US, my name is Muhammad Azmat Rasik. So I have to abbreviate A as Azmat. So you have, if your birth certificate and everything has A, you have to make an affidavit in the government stating that your names are correct. If I am telling you, even if a comma or a name or a word is missing from your documents, you will never get a visa to any of the countries. You will never get a visa. I'm telling you, you will never get a visa. And then financial documents. See, I am 99% of the students parents or their relatives are going to sponsor their education. So you have to submit their documents. Sponsors are those persons who will sponsor your education. Financial documents are their bank statements, bank summaries, and those. And the next one is loan. If you're going for an education loan, then you please take your loan sanction letter and submit it to the university. Next, the income tax returns. Guys, when you're going for visa, you suppose your dad is having a good income, but his income is shown as like 4 lakhs or 5 lakhs in your IT returns, and you show a savings of 60 lakhs, 70 lakh. Guys, it makes no sense, because if your dad is, because many business people do that. So if your parents are doing such things, please advise them for at least the year which you're going for the visa or something, you should have your income tax returns submitted. And the next is your work experience certificates. You have to collect all the experience certificates which have you been working in previously companies. Please get your, at least not, if you're currently working, then get a proof of employment, which will help you, to prove them that you are currently working. The next one is extracurricular activities. If you are a good basketball player, if you are a good swimmer, then you are really appreciated abroad, because there everything matters. Your profile matters, not just your scores, not just your degree. Everything matters in a university admit. The next one is acceptance and rejection letters. Suppose you apply to 6 universities in US, get admit into rest 4, you are rejected. That doesn't mean you go to visa officer and say, I applied only for 2. He will easily track down and reject your visa on the face. Whatever is there, you have to tell the truth. If you have got acceptance in 2, rejections in 4, please tell them, I have got acceptance in 2, rejection in 4, and then only your chances of getting visa. He will easily track down. American visa officers are very, very smart, and US consulate. If you want a US visa, then guys, you have to be 200, 300, 400% transparent. There is no scope that if you're hiding something, you're gone. You will never get a US visa, because once your visa is rejected, the visa officer will write the reason why he has rejected. And you never, until you correct the reason, you will never get a visa again. And the last thing is your resume or CV. Whatever is don't make copy paste resumes. It makes no sense. Try and make a legitimate CV. Don't copy other CV. Guys, you are into going to the industry, please make some attractive CVs. The next thing is, once you have the admission in the university, what next? The next thing is, if you have like finalized all the university, you have got, say, around, you are in the month of June. This is the time which all the universities will send you acceptances, and deadlines are over. Then now it is a time for you to finalize the university. So now you, depending upon the course and depending on the university, you will just finalize the university, write a mail or accept the offer. And the next thing is, once you finalize the university will ask you to final document submission. During the final document submission, you have to give all your originals via soft copy. If they will not ask your engineering marks cards hard copy. Nobody will do that. They will ask you to submit the soft copy of all the originals which you have, and a couple of documents like your LORs, SOP for them to via courier. But most of the universities are not doing. They're asking you to submit a soft copy only. But that time you have to submit all your transcripts, final documents, and everything. Next thing is payment of tuition deposit. Once you are accepted the university will want to secure your seat. They will ask you to pay a security deposit. Say, depends, it may be $200, $300. If you are going to UK, it may be 100 euros, 200 euros. Any country, it depends on the individual university. They will ask you to pay that deposit. It is basically an advance kind of payment. You just give an advance, block your seat. Then, because they do this, because still you are not guaranteed that you will go to that university because your visa is not yet done. Because that is why they just take an advance and block a seat. If you don't get the visa, they will refund that advance amount. Or else they will ask you to return that amount and apply for the next intake. The next thing is the main gateway for your masters is the visa. I can tell you guys, you concentrate on application, leave visa, you're gone. I can in fact tell you, concentrate less on application, concentrate more on visa, because visa is the one which will get you into the country, or else you cannot get. Even if you have a admit in Stanford, MIT, Harvard, without an American consular giving you visa, you can never enter US. So guys, important is visa. I can tell you, visa is again like the entire major organ for the body. It is as good as that. So apply for visa. Now, application of visa, I have already given the documents. I suggest to hire a visa consultant here, because your documentation, you think it is right, but as per American standards, European standards, your documents might not be right. So please, here you hire a consultant, a good consultant, not person who is going to just take your money and talk all fancy thing and do nothing. Hire a good consultant, do good research, and then get into it. Take visa training. I can tell you, visa training is very important. Especially American visas, getting American visas, especially for students, they will check your eye contact, they will check your documents, they will check your confidence, mainly confidence, guys. Confidence is the one which will make you through the visa, I can tell you. So please, visa, if you have any doubts on the visa, please, you can always message me. I can help you out in my free time. Next, the visa interview. Visa, only US currently, as if I know, has a visa interview. You have to go to Chennai. People from Karnataka have to go to Chennai. Rest, you can go to other countries like states like Kolkata, Hyderabad, Delhi, or somewhere. Then once your visa is done, then I think you are 99% assured that you are going to that country. Once your visa is done, then you can book your accommodation. If you're booking for a campus accommodation, it is way too expensive. Try to make groups, try to make friends, try to get connected, book your accommodation. Next, the last thing is pre-departure arrangement. Pre-departure arrangements are those which you have to do probably a week or 2 weeks before you travel to the country. So these, like your, arranging for your currency, arranging for your SIM cards, your airport to your airport shuttle, or probably your booking of a cycle or buying a cycle, or buying this bus passes. Anybody, it depends on the country what basically you go for. For that country, you will have to do, it depends. Again, once you can go there or you interact with students, you can definitely figure it out. I think this would be and then your departure is there, the individual country. And then what else you can do is enjoy your masters. I think I have covered the entire abroad education process. And I hope you have understood. Now I think it's time to ask questions, and you can go ahead with asking questions.
Yeah, thank you, Rasik, for your nice explanation. And it is a well-prepared presentation, self-explanatory, and for any layman also they can easily understand. And
Thank
of
you.
course, small questions are there from the audience. So, Sonika, can you take up the questions?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
For most of the questions already we have prepared, he answered previously.
Okay.
And some left questions I'll be asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go
You
ahead.
can minimize the presentation, Rasik,
Yeah, I'm removing.
and you can stop sharing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Sonika, you can speak.
Yes.
Switch on your video.
Yes, sir. Yeah, bro. Can you tell us about the scholarship details and how can we apply?
Yeah, scholarship. Good. It's a good question. Good. Yeah. See, scholarship is again, scholarship depends on your profile again. If the university finds your profile impressive, then university itself will offer you a scholarship. That is one way. They will, while giving you an offer letter, they will give you a scholarship. I too have a scholarship of 5,000 USD from Stevens. It is the International Merit Scholarship, which Stevens has given me. I haven't applied for scholarship. They themselves have given me. It's called International Merit Scholarship. It is IMS. The next thing is, if you want to avail scholarship, while applying, there will be an option that if you want to avail the scholarship from the university, you have to opt that option. And while doing that, you have to select the type of, if you want a scholarship through teaching assistantship, or scholarship through research assistantship, or you want a funded scholarship. There are something called TA, teaching assistant. You can assist a professor in teaching. Something called RA, you can assist your researcher in research. Any professor who is doing research, he will pay you the amount, and that amount you can send it to the university as a fees. Okay. And scholarship mainly will be done during your application process. You have to select the option. There in every university application, there will be a scholarship option. If you want to avail it, then you have to enable that option. Seeing your profile, seeing your category, the university will itself give you the scholarship. Else, if you're not getting the scholarship, then means you may get the admit, but you will not get the scholarship. It's basically on your profile, how strong your profile is. There are people who get 50% of the scholarship. The people who get 80% of the scholarship. Again, depends on your profile. I hope my answer is clear.
Yeah, brother, definitely.
Yes.
Next question is, universities which doesn't require JRE score are good or not? See,
I would always say GRE is required, because whether you get a good score or a bad score, GRE is required. What I can say is the non-US universities will not keep GRE as compulsory, but doesn't mean that university not having GRE requirement is bad. See, Birmingham does not require GRE. It is world ranked 87. So it doesn't mean it is a bad university. No. It is the country requirement, not the university requirement. Country mandates it. US mandates GRE, they have to give GRE. UK doesn't mandate GRE, they don't have to give GRE. No, it's not necessary. If somebody wants to go to UK, don't have to give GRE. If somebody wants to go to Germany, don't have to give GRE. It is only mandatory for people going to US. That is the main criteria. No, don't judge the university based on GRE. It's the wrong option. Don't judge the university based on GRE. The next question, please.
Next question is GRE waived off for 2022 admissions? If so, what are the opportunities in top universities?
GRE is currently waived off. It is too early for the fall 2022 intake. Fall 21 intake, it was only waived off because of COVID. But I don't think for the next academic year it will continue. Again, you have to go to the university website, log in, check the availability. If it is required, you have to give, or else not required. You are lucky enough. You don't have to give GRE. I hope it's answered.
Yeah. Next question is, if we need to go abroad, what are the challenges we have to face? And also to study abroad, it's mandatory to have TOEFL and GRE score. Is it mandatory to all countries or not?
I again said US, it is mandatory GRE and TOEFL. IELTS will also work out. But if you're going for non-US countries, GRE is not required. Only IELTS or TOEFL will do. And you are talking about the challenges while going to abroad education. Obviously, you are leaving your home country. You have to face everything, right from, waking up in the morning, cooking for yourself, going to the university, studying, coming back to the university, polishing your shoes, putting your lace, ironing your clothes, everything you have to do. There is no maid which will be available in abroad countries. You are yourself a maid for yourself. So guys, make it challenging. It is too challenging. I myself have yet to experience, but I have myself now felt the need to change myself, because I also having, in the Indian environment, have two maids. We have to change ourselves. Okay,
a small question, Rasika. Is there any possibility for part-time jobs?
Yeah.
Apart from university jobs, will you able to work on as a consultant or something? As a earning and parallelly you do your studies also.
Till you complete your degree, you can work in some consultancy or internship, but you can, once your degree is done, once you get your internship, you can work in construction companies or consultancies. Part-time jobs while you are graduating, I think you'll not get in companies. You can work in some cafeterias, you can work in some bookstores, or you can work in campus. There are many campus jobs. If you go to the university, apply for on-campus jobs in the website, you will get it.
Okay, nice. Sonika, you can.
Yes, sir. And the next question is, what is the criteria to prepare for GRE or TOEFL exams? Which universities are best at abroad?
No, it is not criteria. I have to know. GRE is having again verbal.
I think this question is already answered.
Yeah, it is answered.
Yeah.
Next, you can skip.
Yeah. The next question is it expensive to study in UK, and is the University of Glasgow is a good choice?
University of which?
Glasgow.
Yeah, Glasgow is in Scotland. I too got an admit from this in Strathclyde. I too got an admit there. But I would not suggest there, because I found it very restricted. The only engineering branch you can choose is environment, because those countries, population is less. What kind of construction can you expect here? It will be like you are having a Jayanagar population also you will not have in those countries. It will be too small population. What wonders can you expect in construction? For construction to happen, population demand should be there. That is the requirement for construction. When you don't have population, what will you go do in there? So,
it's question from our side is over. It's from the participant currently asked in the chat box.
Chat box. After that, you can open up the mics.
Yeah, sir. A question from Nazir. How to overcome construction code differences between different countries as a graduate student?
There is nothing called overcome, Sonika. You have to follow your country codes. You cannot go to America and follow Indian codes. No, there is nothing called you cannot overcome. I think that is not possible. You have to follow that codes.
Once we studied Indian codes, switching to American codes will be difficult, right?
Not necessarily, but you will have to work there only if you do that. Okay.
And next question from Sandeep. Is Texas good for construction management?
Yeah, it's really good. Texas is good for civil. Like in any branch you take in Texas, go ahead, boss. It's a very good state. It is almost half in India. Size of Texas is half the India. You can always go. It's a very big state in the United States. You can always go ahead. Next question. Please.
Our next question from Mohammed Afroz Ali. Which university is better in Canada?
Canada, University of British Columbia. British Columbia is good. Toronto is good. But I think getting admit there is very challenging. You have to have exceptionally good profiles. But Canada is not, I don't suggest Canada, man. You have UK, US, no, why you want to go to Canada? Canada, full snowing 8-9 months across. My friend in Lakehead studying, she told, when I'm sitting in the class, it is snowing outside, and we are sitting, wearing 3 to 4 layers of clothes, and you will not be able to concentrate much. For Canada, it is basically management, biotechnology, all these specializations you should go. I don't suggest civil for Canada. Next question.
Yeah, it's over
I
in
think
the chat box. If anybody have any questions, you can directly unmute and ask. And just another question from Satish. Sir, which country is better for the courses of interior designing and architecture to become an architect?
I can say for that India is better. India is better for that because I can tell you very less countries invest on interiors and that. But for that, India is, I think interiors is, it has yet to come here. Interiors is, I don't think you don't have to, do it as a specialization or a course, or it is not needed. Interiors is it is a part of the construction job. That's it. It is not a field where you have a specialization. For a aspiring civil engineer, interior should be the last option. For a special, it is in his interest. But if he wants to be a good civil engineer or a good engineer, then I think that should be the last, because that is not core field, technical field which you have to talk about. It's something which even a non-civil engineer can do.
Thank you. Next question from Nazir. When to join postgraduate course after graduation, taking gap as work experience will be good.
Yeah, if you are having 1 or 2 years of experience, after your degree, engineering degree, you can always go ahead with postgrad. Work for 2 years so that you understand what is the need for the hour, then you can go ahead with your masters.
Here I will interrupt. See, Rasik's work experience, I know, is actually worked for you 1 year, you can say, as a duration. But his experience is equivalent to 3 to 4 years of experience. That much he has shown his interest on the work. And whatever the work he has been assigned, he has done a good job. Even his boss is happy. And we can see his progress during his work itself. Means handling the clients, handling the communications, and understanding the technicalities. And if you are involved more on the work, definitely it will help you. It doesn't about duration, it's about the content, what
correct
he has learned. I can say vouch Rasik is equivalent to 3 to 4 years of a work experience guy who is there in the market.
Okay, I think all questions are done.
Yeah, 2 more questions.
Yeah, Sonika, you can quickly ask. I am also actually in
yes, sir. Recommended universities in Germany.
See, Germany, I have not much explored in Germany, but you can always go to this something called Yocket. It's in Yocket. I am writing here, yocket.com. Go to Yocket. Please submit your interested specialization. You will get the universities.
And one has what's your job role and salary and your daily routine works?
And my job role, I was a project coordinator. My salary was somewhere around 17,000, and my daily routine works. Daily routine works in what? In the job profile, or what I do from
like any preparations?
Managing the job as well as getting the admission in the university.
See, before that is why I'm telling you. I told Sonika as well. The right time to start for masters is your 3rd year, wherein you get 1 year to give your exams, and 1 year you have enough ample time to process your application. Routine, it depends, boss. Routine, I can say I was also concentrating on writing SOPs, LORs simultaneously. I myself drafted 6 LORs. Got it signed from the professor, because my professor straight away told, I don't know write an LOR, man. Please write it, I'll sign it. So I wrote my LORs. I did, it's a 1 year long process, man. If you want to get in touch, you have my email ID. I think I put it in the chat. You can always text me in my free time. Once I'm traveling there, I'll not be able to text you every day. But yeah, on my weekends or something, you can always, put your email. I'll try to reply it as soon as possible.
Yeah, any voice questions is there, you can unmute and you can speak. These are the questions received from the various participants from the various groups. Email ID you will be sharing. You can ask, unmute if you have any questions. Otherwise, we will have a thank you note and we will close officially. Audience, would you like to speak something?
होगा होगा.
Thank you, Rasik.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very much informative.
Thank you, sir.
Sonika, you can give a thank you note on behalf of audience. Nearly 60 plus audience has attended the program, and I hope it was very much informative. And you can post the mail, your mail ID in the chat box. So
I have done, sir. I have already posted my email ID.
Okay, no issues. Otherwise, if anyone needs an ID, you can chat anytime with the CMT also. We have enough people who can answer. Yeah, Sonika, you can close the session.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, people, on behalf of CMT, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to our distinguished speaker who spared time from his busy schedule to clarify all our queries. His inputs were really an eye-opener for all of the students and so much informative. And a big thank to Ashok sir for giving us this wonderful opportunity and creating a platform as a career guidance session. And I finally thank all my fellow peers for their enthusiastic participation. I sincerely hope this event is as informative as can be for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonika. Rasik, please spell out your mail ID. People are not able to get it.
I'm repeating MOHAMMED.
Sonika, just type it.
MOHAMMED.RASIQ1997@gmail.com.
RASI?
Q.
At?
Sonika, I will do one thing. I will WhatsApp. You put it on the group. Yeah.
Yeah, I will be better.
I think you have put it.
Thank you, Rasik.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Have a safe journey.
Thank you, sir.
I know you are having a lot of things to do for your packing list and everything. Very limited time is there. You need to interact with all your family members also.
Yes,
thank you. See you again. And
sure,
your platform once you are back, definitely we will.
Sure, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All the best for your journey, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.